What's up, everyone? It's AC, your animal companion here, and I've got the last guide I have in my series of Orie guides, at least for the time being. This one is about spending meter in CS. It's about resource decision making in Under Night, specifically as it applies to Orie. So of the guides that I've written, this one is definitely the wordiest, because it's the most about like strategy. Kind of this decision might be good in this situation, it might be bad in this situation, kind of getting into those details. So how I'd like to proceed here is I'm gonna first of all like do a quick introduction, and then I'm going to get into kind of ways to spend a resource, and then I'm going to kind of rank them from 1 to 10 on how important they are to learn and utilize, in my opinion, to play Orie effectively at a high level. So, without further ado, I'll just get into the introduction. We just need to discuss what I mean by resources. So, there's two main resources in this game. One of them is meter. It's a thing that you use for EX moves and supers. You can also use it for system mechanics like fail off, and for stuff like guard thrust. You get meter by making someone block, and you get a lot of meter for blocking, and also a lot of meter for hitting someone. So interacting with your opponent usually builds you meter. Also, you can spend meter on things like green shield. I'll turn off auto increase. Default, I suppose. You see, I spent meter on that green shield there, and so that means that some defensive options like this does have a resource cost to it. Not the neutral one, but if you are in block stun and you try to green shield, that does have a meter cost to it. Okay, and then we have to talk about grid. So grid is the thing in the bottom, and you build it by being aggressive and being right, so approaching, assaulting, hitting your opponent, doing combos, teching throws, all gain grid, whereas being defensive and being wrong loses you grid. And when you win grid, you get what the thing down at the bottom. It turns pink if you're player 1 and blue if you're player 2. It means that you have cycle or you have Vorpal. It has a few different benefits, but what we're concerned here is this mechanic, which is chain shift. You can see Orie says chain shift when she does it as well. That's a cute little thing that only a few characters in the game actually say the system mechanics names. Okay, so CS is something that you do by pressing the D button twice. It freezes the screen for 30 frames, and if your opponent is in the middle of doing something, they flash red. And if they flash red, you can DP them. So that's how you use like CS defensively. You can also use it offensively. So this move, -6 on block. If I CS, I cancel all the recovery of it, and I'm plus 20, which is pretty nice. Also, whenever you use CS, you gain grid, or you gain meter proportional to the amount of grid that you have. So we see here, I have 3 blocks of grid. If I press CS, I'll get 60 meter. But if I do this, I'll only get 28 meter. It's half if you get half the meter if you cancel the recovery of a move. Okay, so that is the resources that we were talking about in this game. So how does Orie feel about these resources? I think the good news if you're an Orie player is that Orie is one of the best resourceless and meterless characters in this game. And what I mean by that is that every part of Orie's game plan, what she wants to do to win, her block strings, her combos, her confirms, her defense, all of that she can do meterlessly. She doesn't get the best confirms, and she doesn't get the absolute best combos off of every single one of her moves, but there are a lot of characters in this game who need resources to function. I think when you think of a character, my mind always goes to Merkava and Gordeau as the two characters who, whenever they do not have meter, are some of the most, like, middling characters in the game. But if they have 200 meter, they all of a sudden become really, really threatening because they have access to all of their reversals, they have access to full confirms off of all of their best pokes, their pressure becomes more threatening, their Oki becomes more threatening. They are just different characters when they have meter. I'd say Orie isn't really like that. A lot of her, like, good stuff, like her best normals, she can just confirm meterlessly. You can do combos like, if you can do the combo. This is from a far B normal, and it does 3.2, great corner carry, great Oki, hit confirmable. It costs a little bit of grid for the FF, but you're always going to be able to hit that combo, and you don't need to worry about your resource management decisions too much if you play Orie. There are some matchups where she cares a lot more whether or not she has meter, and I'm hopefully going to talk a little bit about what those matchups are and what the options are that she really cares about. But for the most part, she operates well without it. She has good block strings, she has a meterless reversal, she's got great confirms, she's got great combos, and great Oki. Good movement on top of that. So that's good news. It also means that your decision making with Orie's resource spending can really vary from player to player, depending on what kind of thing you value, whether it's damage or mix-ups or good defense or very annoying neutral. You can develop a meter spending strategy and a resource spending strategy that is completely different from another very strong Orie. And that's pretty cool. So that's going to be the introduction, and now I'm just going to go over a few of, like, all of her resource spending decisions that I think are important. And this first one is using meter in routing. I've got to give this one a 9 out of 10 in importance. If you've watched any of my videos, I think you know that I really highly value Orie's damage. I think that's one of her best aspects in this game, that she can get common hits like this. And that does 3.5. What's important about that is when you're playing a regular game of Under Night, you want to be able to kill your opponent in as few interactions as possible. So, Orie has the damage to, if you optimize her, consistently 3-touch her opponents. What I mean by that is, she only needs to hit you 3 times to kill you if she is doing good combos and managing her resources correctly. The average health in this game is like 10,400, something like that. So if you're doing 3.5 per hit... Oops. That was 3.4. See? Those were 3 good hits, and I'm able to kill meterlessly off of 3 touches. You don't always get good hits, and that's where spending meter comes in. Sometimes you get 2A, sometimes you get assault, sometimes you get a throw, sometimes you get this. spending meter for cash outs is important because it adds damage and it gets you to what you want your average damage to be, which is around 3.4. If you're doing 3.4k on average, that means you are going to be able to kill most characters in the game in a 3-touch. And that makes a huge difference for how easy it is to win with this character. So, what's also nice is a lot of her best cash-out options are also corner carry routes. So if I just do a basic 5A route like this, I don't drop it. I only drop that combo while I'm recording. It does 3.6, and it also puts them straight into the corner. The corner is really useful because not only does it make your pressure better, because your opponent has a harder time escaping, it also makes all of your combos better. Mid-screen, my 5A optimal is 3.1. Corner. Man, I'm having a rough go of it today. We'll do the other round. There, finally. 3.4-ish, and other routes can do a little bit more. There. That's the easier version. 3.4. So, your corner combos do more damage, so that means whenever you're choosing to cash out for a corner carry route, you're both doing more damage and putting yourself in the corner, which makes your offense better and makes all of your hits do more damage. So that's very, very good. I think a big part, really important part of playing this character is recognizing when you need to do that and managing your opponent's health bar so that you spend meter when it puts your opponent at important health thresholds. So, let's say you get a hit that leaves your opponent, like, meterlessly, it would leave them at 30%. You're like, okay, that's great. Or meterlessly would leave them at 20%. And you're just like, okay, well, that's great. The next hit kills. So you choose not to spend meter. But if you spent a little bit of meter and did maybe 500 damage more, you're going to put them in this range, and then throw will kill them. Very important threshold for winning rounds is putting your opponent in range for a throw to kill. Or even better, a TRM to kill, because TRMs do less damage. If you can do that, it essentially means that every strike-throw interaction your opponent is guessing. That's really strong. So first, first thing to learn, 9 out of 10 on importance, is when to cash out, use meter for cash out, and damage and corner carry on Orie. You want to get your opponent in range to get 3-touched, you want to get them in range for a throw to kill, and the other big thing is there's a lot of meter gain in this game, so if you aren't paying attention, sometimes you can be at 200 meter, like I am now, and then you would do a combo that normally builds you 50 meter. So if I get a hit right now and I just do a B&B, that combo should be building me like 40 meter, 50 meter, but I'm not getting any of that because I'm just at 200. So that probably means that I need to be spending my meter pretty much whenever I get it if I'm sitting at 200, so then it's more efficient, right? Because I don't gain any bonuses from sitting at 200 meter. I just want to spend the meter so I can build it back and get to 200 again and then cash out again. So meter management and your opponent's health bar management, important, 9 out of 10. and that covers the using meter and routing section. If you want to know about exactly what combo enders you can do, you can look at my video on combo enders in Okizeme. Should be uploaded now, and it goes into a little bit more detail there. You can also lump in like spending meter for Oki setups, that kind of stuff. Also, I suppose you can consider part of routing, and side swap routes, stuff like that. Next section is using meter and CS in neutral and on defense. So CS, this is the most obvious use for it. It's a big pause button, lets you DP what your opponent is doing. Learning how to use CS defensively, this one's a 10 out of 10 in importance. You are not playing Under Night until you know how to do this. So what does that look like? Whoops. Maybe this is an Oki sequence your opponent's doing. If I have CS, I can wake up CS and DP them. You need to know how to do that. It's pretty easy whenever you do wake up, because you can just tap 5DD, 4DD, 6DD, it doesn't matter. You can tap the D button in any direction, and you can get a reversal CS. You can even see whenever I wake up, it says reversal, and then the screen freezes, and I get to DP. Really important to learn how to do that. It's also pretty easy to... How do I want to do this? I don't even know if I'll do this. So my opponent techs my throw, they are +8, and that means they can usually just start offense. But I can spend it after that, and freeze the screen, and DP them if they hit a button. Also, that one's not too bad, because I can just be mashing it during that animation, and there's no risk for me. But what about whenever your opponent is doing pressure? So, if your opponent is doing a basic block string pressure like this, like that's just a thing they might do, your instinct is to hold down back and then mash D. And that works if I'm not being pressured, but if I'm in the middle of my opponent's block string, I can sometimes get it. But you see, sometimes that'll happen where you get green shield instead, because if you press D while you are in block stun, you'll get a green shield. So that's pretty tough. It is difficult, it might be difficult to get the CS while also blocking there. The technique that you're going to want to learn is doing either down DDD or down forward DDD in pressure. See, like that? I'm not locked out of CSing because I am not holding down back and getting crouch shield. The downside of this is that while you're buffering this, I'm not blocking. I'm either holding down or I'm holding down forward. And that's not usually a big issue if my opponent is doing a stagger on something big like a 5C. See, that's pretty easy. But what about if my opponent is doing staggered 5As? See, there I'm trying to hold 2D, like 2 DDD, but because I'm not blocking, I just get hit there. So, all that is to say, you need to learn how to do both 1DD and 2DD and 3DD, but getting a CS in the middle of a block string or in the middle of a strike throw situation can be a pretty big execution check. And it's just something to practice because Orie is a meterless DP character, and the difference between an Orie who can do that and one who can't is it is very, very easy to run offense on you if you cannot represent reversal CS at all. So that's a big thing to practice. Another thing is that what if your opponent baits out your CS? So I'm gonna dummy Vorpal. Everyone has probably had the experience where they have a wake-up CS and their opponent just blocks. And just they're sitting there waiting for you to use your CS and they don't commit to anything. This is called a neutral CS situation. And these are honestly pretty complicated, but because the screen is frozen, it turns into like a jousting match where both players trying to use their buttons and their options that are the best frame data to hit your opponent. In a mirror match, you obviously all have the same options, but whether or not you can win these situations is pretty matchup dependent. Orie does well against all the 6-framers, because she has a 5-frame and she has a meterless DP, and she has, no, stop recording. She has a 6-frame 5A, which is very good. She has a 5-frame 2A, which is very good. An instant air option, throw, and a DP. All of those are really nice to have, but there's some pretty complicated RPS that you get into in these neutral CS situations. So let's say I try to 5A. That's just going to lose to a 2A because the 2A is 5 frames. That seems obvious, but this is a really big deal against characters with 5-frame 5As, because 5-frame 5As stop you from jumping is their biggest strength. So let's see another option. Let's see what is wrong with Orie just pressing her 5-frame 2A. That is going to beat the 5A like we established. But whoops. It's going to lose to that. If I can do it. Yeah, punish. So it loses to that. Another important option. Throw. Throw is 4 frames. That means it's going to beat any button. Here I'm going to press 2A. I just get thrown. So the issue with throw is that... Whoops. It's actually a little bit tighter than you'd like to... Yeah, you get 70 HUC, and it is really rewarding to get those kind of hits, and you might kind of notice throw does pretty bad damage. It does 1500 damage, and you get horrible Oki if it hits, and if you're wrong, you're going to eat this, and you're going to take 3.3. Last option Orie has, that's really important. Whoops. Meterless DP. Obviously going to beat any button, but if they block it, you die. So, honestly, like, neutral CS is like a whole video in just by itself. It's pretty complicated, but you need to learn how to both use it in the matchups where you win and kind of contest it in the matchups where you lose. Where you lose it. And it also means that in some matchups, you, like, really strongly representing Wake Up CS and Reversal CS just is not that valuable because the other character will win those situations more often. Like I said before, Linné, Akatsuki, Eltnum, Wagner, those characters are going to win these neutral CS situations more often than you are, so it becomes a lot less powerful for you to use on defense. Still important to know how to use, and you need to understand how to play those RPS situations in general, but it's a lot better in some matchups than others. Okay, so next technique to use meter or CS on neutral and defense is guard thrust. There's a lot of set play in this game. We'll pretend like this is good set play. Imagine this is like a Carmine wheel or a Hilda Roomba. You can guard thrust and hit your opponent out of it. This is not a very good knockdown. It is plus 16 and it leaves them all the way over there if they back tech. So guard, and additionally guard thrust, it can be kind of a hidden aspect of it, but it also drains your grid. See how my grid went to 0 there? My grid goes to 0. So that can make it difficult to contest the next cycle if you use guard thrust on defense. But it is good to get out of certain set play things like Hilda Roomba, like Carmine Wheel, like Kuon Wheel, stuff like that. Additionally, it can also be good if your opponent is in the corner and you are like right here and they start doing a block string on you. Oops. Guard thrust and putting them back in the corner is usually pretty strong, mostly because at this point, the plus 16 is actually good Oki. You can actually get good Oki off of this hit, so that's pretty big. Overall, guard thrust is a little niche in this version. It's not really generally useful, but it's something worth knowing about. I'm going to put this one at like a 3 out of 10 on importance. It's going to be important in some matchups. You're going to want to know how to use the tool, but it's not going to come up too much. Next option for meter spend is Veil Off. So Veil Off is a universal system mechanic. It costs at least 100 meter, but it costs all of your meter. It is a 15 frame reversal, so it's pretty slow. It means it can get baited like things like 5A and 2A if they do them early. It can also get safe jumped in some setups. It's just a pretty flawed reversal. You're still glad to have it to get out of some setups that are too like difficult to DP out of, too difficult to guard thrust out of. So something like Orie's like cross-up stuff is pretty bad. You know, all things considered, it's pretty mediocre, but let's pretend that this was a messed up left-right, and you didn't know what side it was going to be on, right? Veil Off is really good in those types of situations. So in situations like maybe Seth is left-righting you or in the corner, or Mika is left-righting you in the corner when you're grid broken, or Hyde is doing pogo on top of your face and then EX canceling it, and it's really annoying, you don't know when you can challenge him. VO is going to be good in those situations, and you're going to be glad you have that tool. But this is designed to be a very high-risk reversal to use. It costs all of your meter. If this gets baited, you eat a DP punish, and you also lose all of your meter. So it's about as committal as an option can get in this game. I'd put VO at like a 5 out of 10 on importance. Well, maybe a 6 out of 10, just because it's not going to come up that often, but whenever it does, you're going to be glad you had it. There's also situations like this, where you can take a throw by doing ABCD, and if you're over 30% health, it's going to come out as a VO, or it's going to come out as a throw tech. That's pretty useful to have, even though as like a very high risk, high reward throw tech option. Okay. Next one is like actually an Orie specific option. And this is using meter to confirm Divine Thrust. Everyone knows Divine Thrust, everyone loves Divine Thrust, and C Thrust is how you confirm off of these hits. I'll say up front, this one's really, really important. This one is real strong. And that's because Divine Thrust is a move that you can kind of use all the time. It's good in neutral. It's good as a delayed frame trap in block strings. It's good whenever your opponent is trying to pressure you and they walk back, then you tag them with a Divine Thrust. All of those situations are good. The problem is they aren't very high reward. You don't even get Oki for landing a B Divine Thrust. But if you practiced hit confirming that, then all of a sudden that's 3.7 and full corner carry. That's a hit your opponent really needs to care about. This is a matchup defining move. Without meter, it's just okay. It's a good annoying poke. With meter, your opponent needs to be aware of it at all times. It turns these things into just annoying to, I'm going to die if I guess incorrectly on this, if they catch my timing. And that's very powerful for what it does to Orie's neutral game. It gets her a lot of respect. And I've kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I think this is kind of the most dramatic situation in the game where you can be holding offense in the corner, you're, literally backed into a corner, you're just trying to get a hit, you land a single Divine Thrust, whoops, then you do 3.7, and you side swap, and now they're in the corner. It's one of the, biggest Uno reverse buttons in the game. It completely changed the momentum of a match, and you want to be able to do this. This one is... most of the reason why it's good is because it also side swaps the opponent, so using thrust in the corner to side swap them is very, very high reward, and you want to learn how to maximize those hits. Now, earlier I said you want to learn how to hit confirm any of your thrusts into C thrust. And that is gonna be, it sounds advanced, but it's really not. And I'm highlighting two techniques that you can practice to get much better at confirming Divine Thrust into C Divine Thrust and getting a full combo off of it. The first one is the 236A, 236C, or A thrust, C thrust, hit stop OS, or just A thrust, hit stop OS. Now, I know people hear the word OS or option select and they get scared because it's a very scary, advanced fighting game sounding word. But this one is not bad. Just try it out a little bit and you'll see. So what we're going to do, this is it, is do 236A, 236C. But you do it at a timing where your opponent blocks it. You see, I did it right there. Your opponent blocks it and the C thrust doesn't come out. They get hit by it. The C thrust comes out. So how do you do it? You're going to want to... This is the visual cue I look at. If you look at Orie's sword, you see a kind of little streak after the rapier. The little particle effects after it. If you wait until that particle effect disappears, and then input C thrust, this is what it looks like. And how do we know that we're getting it? I'm going to set them to random guard. Oh, messed that one up. There you go. It's very consistent. It's not very difficult. Practice it. Spend 5 minutes in training mode. You'll start getting it too. And that's how you start getting these really nice, very satisfying single hit confirms on A thrust. And And this is going to turn your Orie in neutral into a menace. So that's a real strong technique. I recommend everyone learn it. That being said, I don't use that technique that much in matches. And the reason for that is it doesn't work with B thrust. That's because B thrust is a very active move. Wait, how many active frames does it have? 7 active frames as opposed to the 4 for A thrust. It's 7 active frames, and it's also like has a lot of travel time. So the late hit confirming the B thrust doesn't work exactly the same as late hit confirming the A thrust. There are some timings where if you just do it at the same timing, you're gonna get C thrust on block sometimes. But we can use what we learned for the first hit stop OS and just use it to start manually confirming these A thrust and B thrust. What you're going to want to do for that is just do a divine thrust and then buffer a 2-3-6 and don't press any button. Just do the same buffered quarter circle. And then as soon as you see it hit, press C button. You see there, I did the quarter circle, and I held it for 8 frames, saw it hit, then press C. If you do it correctly, it should be a single button hit confirm, like that. So, yeah. Those are 2 techniques to start hit confirming your divine thrusts a little bit better. I'm gonna rate the divine thrust, like C thrust confirm, and all of its OSs. I'm gonna rate those 7.5, maybe 8 out of 10 in importance. Even if you don't use divine thrust a ton in pressure, having access to that is really gonna help, like, up your game a lot. It's gonna make your neutral way better. It's gonna make your defense better. It's gonna make your offense better. Because it's gonna turn that into, like, a safe poke that leaves you at a great spacing, and if you hit it, it does 3.7. So, highly recommend that one. Kind of a cousin of this one is, C thrust off of A stand, or off of stand in general. So, stand pressure, is also very strong this version, I think. It's got great frame data, and you can threaten the follow-ups. Because you can threaten follow-ups, it's going to mean you're going to be able to do, like, stand into redash quite a lot. Because they're going to be respecting the follow-ups. But your best follow-up, I think, is this one, 4A, because it leaves you at -11, but you're all the way over here at some ranges. Like, that's -11, but you can, if you only get the last hit, you can even make it -2. Yeah, that one's only -7. There we go. There's the one that's only -2. So this move is obnoxious. It is a frame trap, which you can delay it quite a bit, actually. And it will catch buttons, it will catch mashes, it will catch movement. It'll catch jumps as well. Because if they reversal jump... If they reversal jump, I'll just set them to jump. Yeah, okay. That's an air unblockable. They can't do anything about that. Air unblockable. They're set to guard all. They can't do anything about that. So, 4A is really nice to kind of, like, develop and add a layer to your stand pressure. And C thrust is good for confirming it. .5 there. You can get a little bit more, but it's a good hit. It also means you can just kind of like throw out these stand moves like just like being annoying in neutral, just whiff canceling them, and if your opponent runs into them, full confirm. I personally use this one a lot. I personally really like this use of meter because it lets... I think stand pressure can be a very... Like, you can do pressure only using stand moves and get great results. And this really helps your stand pressure and your stand use feel more complete. So I'm going to put this one at a 6.5 out of 10 of importance, but you don't have to play Orie and know how to do this, but if you want to use your stand pressure and get the most out of it, it's going to be important. This is going to be an important way to spin the meter and learn the combos. Okay. Next one, I'm actually going to switch characters. Let's do Hilda. So, next one is Raw 236C. We all know that A thrust and B thrust are good moves. C thrust on itself, just Raw 236C, is a ludicrous move. This move is 6 frames. It moves the full screen in about, I don't know, 5 to 8 frames. It's really quick. It's probably the best whiff punishing move in the game. Every time. It is very easy to... You can whiff punish a surprising amount of stuff in this game. Just abusing Orie's walk speed and seeing something come out, 236C. The combo is also extremely damaging. Whoops. Oh, I thought it was going to be on the other side. That is 3.9 for a whiff punish. Extremely damaging, extremely consistent, not super difficult to do, but it costs meter. There are some matchups, and I think Hilda is one of them, where you can base your entire neutral game and defense around getting 100 meter and then threatening to C-thrust them. Because a lot of common strings, like... Yeah, let's do that one. Hilda can't do anything there. She just dies. None of her EX moves make her safe. I'm pretty sure that's the case anyways. Yeah. You can also do it with stuff like... There you go. And something like that. You get the idea. You can also whiff punish a lot of her normals on reaction. Getting to 100 meter makes this matchup pretty immediately miserable for Hilda. And she's not the only one. I think Hilda's the most dramatic example, but against like Merkava, he does this to stop you from divine thrusting in neutral. It's a full punch every time. Maybe not every time, because it won't work from like this range, I think. Oh no, it does. My bad. Yeah, it's a punish. So yeah, that is the kind of matchup warping move for Orie. Another good example, I think, that I use a lot is Yuzus like to... I don't even know how do I get into stance with this character? They'll do stuff like this and just threaten, like, Batos. And you can just interrupt their stance jump with a C-thrust. So they can't just do that forever. There's a lot of matchups where that is very important. You can base your entire game plan around just getting 100 meter and then threatening to whiff punish them. So this one is a little bit narrow, but you would be surprised how many things you can consistently whiff punish with 2-360 and how high reward it is. I'm going to put this one at about the same... I'll put this one at 7 out of 10 for importance on practicing and learning how to use it. Alright, next one. This one's going to be good. I put this move as maybe the most buffed move going from Uni 1 to Uni 2. 2 and 4C. 2 and 4C is a plus on block move. If you're close to them, you can do it in the air. It's plus on block there too. It always spawns on the ground. And no matter where you hit them, you do the same combo. Whoops. There's 3.9. Works cornered. It works from everywhere. Those were the air hits. You can also use it to cancel off of a thrust. This is a very good round start option. It's gap close into 2 and 4C. That is gapless on block and plus 7. So afterwards, threat and throw. Threat and frame trap. They're both good. And on hit, it even turns. You can go into the exact same combo. 3.7. Off of a round start option. You don't even have to hit the first one. Just whiff cancel it. That one is really good, but the air version is even better. So you see, what I'm doing here is I'm doing just like a jump forward and then 2 and 4C, because the 2 and 4C always spawns on the ground. If I do assault forward, it spawns on the ground directly below me. If I do FF, it spawns on the ground directly below me. I can do jump, FF to the other side, spawns on the ground directly below me. It's always plus on block. See, plus 7 there. Plus 16 there. I don't know why. So always plus on block, and I can use it after all of my air actions, so I can be very evasive to my opponent trying to do a grounded poke. You can also use it as an anti-anti-air. Whoops. I'll be 100% honest. This is one of the scrubbiest moves in the game. This move is insane. People at the beginning of Uni 2 really like to meme about Landrekia Ice Rain. This move is better than Landrekia Ice Rain. Ice Rain is a projectile, and it's a good one. It's plus on block, but Landrekia does not get as consistent confirms, and you cannot avoid it because it's a projectile, so projectile invuln stuff doesn't work. It is just a strike that spawns no matter how high Orie is up. It spawns right next to you and leaves her plus. You can even do mix-ups off of it, so like that. Very quick overhead there. If they're not blocking that, they just, get hit. into a low. You can also do FF after it. If you just use this move in the air, you can usually come down and get start pressure no matter what. You can even do ADP and cancel into it. That's plus 13 on the ground. Or a quick assault. Orie is always at an advantage whenever she uses the move. I think the most difficult part about using this move is recognizing when your opponent is respecting it. Because you saw it can work against anti-airs like this. But the trick there is you can't do it on reaction. You can't be jumping and then see them go for the 3B. And that would hit you. Like, and then on reaction do the 2 and 4C. You've got to do it preemptively. And that means that you have to, like, do that specifically baiting an anti-air. And that also means whenever you're jumping, you have to recognize when your opponent is looking at your meter and respecting the 2 and 4C. Because in those situations, you can just jump forward and get regular pressure because they can't hit a button. That's not all, though. It's got even more uses. I think it's got a really good defensive niche because some characters have really annoying redashes. I just did a basic redash after Orie's 5B here. You can imagine whatever annoying character you think this is. Wagner redashing at you, Akatsuki redashing at you, whatever. You can use that as a defensive option. So, characters with a dive kick in this game, they can just do jump and then obnoxious air to ground button, which crushes lows and is a really high reward on block. Or you can do the same thing. Air to ground button, which is very fast and obnoxious reward. You spend meter on it, but it's a very solid defensive option. It's a very solid round start option. It's a very solid neutral option. You can do it like this. There's not a bad way to use this move. Every way you use it, it is one of the best moves in the game. It is, I think, easily one of the best EX moves in the game. You should be using this one a lot. I'm gonna put this at a 9 out of 10. And that's really just because I don't think I see too many Ories abusing it. Like it needs to be abused. Because this move's a jump scare. And we need to get some Orie 2 and 4C hate, like other characters get their best moves hated. Okay. So next I'll do hide. There are a few still on Gardal. Yeah, Gardal. There are a few moves. I'll stop recording. We already talked about CS into reversal, and Orie can definitely do CS into Sacred Spire here. 2 through 6 BC is Sacred Spire. But she can also just, a lot of the times, do raw Sacred Spire. As your game knowledge and matchup knowledge gets better, you'll be able to recognize more situations where you can just guaranteed do a Sacred Spire on block. The situations you're going to want to look for are situations that are at least buttons that are at least -8, because this is 8 frames. It's a common place for your opponent to stagger. So I have hide here because the move I'm thinking of is hide FF. If you've ever been hit with that, that's a guaranteed reversal. The only thing hide can do to stop that is CS the FF preemptively. He can also do something like... Oh, I don't even know if that'll work. No, it doesn't. Maybe around the corner? Yeah. So that one was a true string, so either he does a true string and my Sacred Spire doesn't come out. I'll show that again. True string, I'm safe. Or if he leaves a gap there at all, he dies. There's a few situations like this. Hide FF is a good one. Also, hide can do stuff like 6B into like a Space Fireball. This is really only works on Hyde because of the way his Fireball works. He's locked out of doing a Fireball DP. Like if he tries to, he just gets that. And because of that, that means that if he does Space Fireball, you can do that. So Hyde Force Function, Hyde Fireball, Landrekia 4C, Batista 5cc. There's a lot of like moves that you can just Sacred Spire on block. And that's gonna be really big for Orie in those matchups. Like against Hyde, she needs it. She needs a spot to guarantee get out on defense, and Sacred Spire gives her that. I'm gonna put this one on probably 6.5, 7 out of 10, because it's not technically necessary. You can just play normal defense in this matchup, but being able to turn off like some of your opponent's most powerful offensive sequences is going to be really strong. Like for Alon, he does this every time. You do that every time. Even he does that. It just doesn't work. You can just reversal out of it. So being able to shut down some of your opponent's like best offensive sequences is pretty powerful. Okay, and now we are rounding it out. This one's gonna be a little bit of a doozy, but stick with me. How to use meter and CS on offense. So this game is kind of designed to where you're supposed to have to use your resources to open up your opponent, and these are a couple ways to use your resources to open up your opponent with Orie. I'm gonna start off by defining the term set play strike throw. What I mean by that is any situation where you do this and there's going to be a delayed strike. There's going to be a delayed attack coming down that will hit your opponent. And I can go for a throw. Or I can let that strike frame trap them. I'll get into some examples, but first let's get 2-2C out of the way. Okay, 2-2C. Everyone knows this move. It's like plus 80 on block. Plus 82, yeah. And you can do Assault JA. You can also do 6B. You can also do fake the 6B and go for a 4C2 AA. These are all okay mix-ups on block. They're not great. Orie doesn't have a ton of good ways to set them up outside of the corner. And really the only one that I think I'm going to recommend you lab and use is the one off of Steer Enter. Let me see if I can get it. What you do, Steer Enter. That. If you do that correctly, which is hard, you get combo throw, and then even if they tech the throw, you're still plus. You're still plus 40, and you can still go for mix. Very, very powerful Oki setup. I talked about it a little bit more in my combo enders and Okizeme guide. I think that is really the best place for you to use 2-2C. You can also use it when your opponent's grid broken, but for the most part, stick to that setup. So 2-2C I'm going to put at a 5 out of 10 on importance, because you can definitely get by without using it at all, but it's a nice tool to have. Okay, so let's get into it with 2-4 BC. What's the name of this move, actually? I don't want to call it just 2-4 BC. Reverie Obelisk. I see. So, Obelisk, or 2-4 BC, is a two-part move where you do... it has the set and then the slam. You can use, and this situation creates a set play strike throw situation for your opponent. Because I can, oops. I can do this and throw them, and if they throw, then the delayed strike can catch all of their throw OSs. So how do we want to set this up? Really, the ideal way is to do it off a 236A 6A, like this. Because this one moves you really far forward, so you can be all the way out here and do that, and then you're right next to them. That's great. But the thing is, oh, what happened to all my... Yeah, let's do this. The thing is, this has a gap. There's a 1-frame gap. So that means your opponent can see you do this and DP on reaction, and Orie can't do anything about it. She would have to just do that, just kind of reading that they'll do the DP, but DP kind of just destroys this that. But you can still do this, and that is a true string. See? Can't DP that. Can DP the double A thrust. Okay, so the most perfect setup, like the least flawed setup rather, is A thrust into 214 BC. The more flawed one but higher reward is double A thrust into 214 BC. Your goal is to get close to your opponent and set the stand, and then you can run mix. So what does that mix look like? When the stand is going up, you are -2 on block, which might sound bad, but -2 is actually perfect for a tick throw. You just do dash throw, and it sets it up automatically for you. So that's pretty nice. And even though you're negative, it's pretty hard for your opponent to interact with you here. So what are your options? The first one is dash throw. Another one that I like a lot. Dash block, delay 1AD. Like that. And then the third one is dash and throw bait. And to show what that looks like, I'm going to turn on a few different options that are meant to simulate throw techs. So that is going to be our... These are early stand tech and early 2AD. I use these these timings in my strike throw video. So if we do that, you see dash and jump. There you go. It's about a 3k reward, and you just represent the throw by just doing dash and throw, and then if you want to, the slam of the 214 BC acts as a delayed frame trap, which hits pretty much every throw OS that your opponent can do. It hits most of them anyways. Here's delayed 3 bad, so yeah, that'll catch me jumping. What did I do, like jump forward? Whoops. Yeah, that's what I thought. Why did that do more damage? Anyways, that's the basic setup, is that you can represent throw, or you can represent dash in, throw bait, and that's going to be just a basic strike throw mix-up. Well, what if your opponent mashes? I think that's a pretty fair question. People like to mash. Or they can, let's say, try to dash in, throw you, something like that. That's why I like to do dash block in delayed 1AD. Dash block in delayed 1AD is very useful because you dash in and you do the latest possible timing for a tick throw. And it also means that if your opponent tries to run up throw to get you out of the setup, you will tech their throw. So if they try to throw you, you tech it, you also tick throw them, and you also block their mashes. So I showed that with like a... like that. If they mash a button, I just get to wait and let the stand do the work for me. Another option is Assault JA. So I can turn them on variable guard. So they won't block overheads now. Whoops. There we go. Full combo there. So you can just represent your fastest overhead, 23 frames, and get a full confirm off of it. Very cheeky option you can do is literally just do a BDP. That just do an invincible DP. And if they press a button, they obviously get DP'd. And if they just block, then usually the slam will come down and make you plus. See, I'm plus 6, even though I just whipped a DP in their face. Very funny option. It's not that great. You can also do something like... you just do a jump, and then you can time either delayed or double overhead or empty assault low. Which is, that option is probably the least good out of all of them, but if you want to run that kind of offense, you can do it here, because you have you got the frames to do it. The biggest issue with 214 BC is that it has very poor tracking. Horizontal tracking specifically. Let's say I'll do 5 frame delay and then make them backdash. They're just out of there. Back jump, more the same. It just avoids it. So that's pretty bad. The horizontal tracking is just not very good on that. That's why I like dash block. Because if you dash block and react to what your opponent's doing, a lot of the times you can chase their escape option. But the dash block 1AD setup, is probably one of the lower reward options you can get as well. So it's one of the safer, and it patrols their escape options, but also pretty low reward. That also means that 214 BC is going to be a lot better in the corner. Kind of contrast this. This is kind of like the opposite of a Nanase 22C, where Nanase 22C has excellent horizontal range, but no vertical. Orie 214 BC has excellent vertical, but no horizontal. That means in the corner... Wow, actually it's annoying to convert off of this. Confirm off of this when you don't have a stand. Wow. Huh. There. Got it. DP is the most consistent anti-air that way. That's funny. Why is that such a good starter? Anyways, yeah, you can air unblockable them if they try to jump out in the corner. It locks them in place for a long time. You can even like air to air them, and unless they shield, they'll just get hit. So it's a lot better in the corner than it is mid-screen, but I don't know how many people like actually know their escape options mid-screen either. Last thing about 2 and 4 BC is that you can do a fuzzy setup off of this. Fuzzy overhead is going to be complicated to explain, but it is pretty much it is a setup that makes you... It takes advantage of the fact that you're standing up and then locks your character's animation in the standing position even though you are holding down back. Even though you are trying to crouch block, your character will still be standing, and that leaves you vulnerable to instant overheads. Setting them up in Under Night is especially complicated, but you can do it here. That is what the setup looks like. You do this, and then you do this jump assault JB whiff to make them stand up, and if they stand up, then for the slam, they're stuck standing for about 30 frames, and you can do a neutral jump, delay JA, and then confirm that into a full combo. I'm probably gonna have to do it on myself, aren't I? Probably. That's gonna be a pain. That doesn't work. That was not it. Not quite. Maybe this one. Not quite. I'm gonna do it exactly once. I'm not even gonna worry about the confirm afterwards. I'm gonna show that it's possible. That may have been it. There it was. That's the fuzzy setup. I dropped the confirm afterwards, but I don't care. What that the slam makes you stand up for a little bit, and then you can hit them with a delayed neutral jump JA, and it hits overhead. And CS for a full combo. Very cool setup. Not particularly stable. You can get out of this in a lot of ways, like dash block, you're out. Backdash, you're out. Actually, that gets hit. It's got a lot of problems. But it's pretty cool. If you want to learn it, you feel free to. So overall, how good do I think 2 and 4 BC offense is? I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. Just because I think it's important to like understand how to set this up and how to threaten it. And in general, I think threatening set play strike throw, just situations where your opponent has to guess and there is a legitimate mix-up, even though you're playing a quote-unquote like no mix strike throw character, is pretty valuable. Just showing that your opponent that you can do this is good. And mostly I think its strength is whenever you can do it in the corner. That's just actually a good setup. So I do recommend learning it. What I'd say 7 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10, something like that. It's a good setup, particularly in the corner. Okay, next one, we are finally onto not spending meter, but spending CS. We're in the home stretch now. So Divine Thrust is a great neutral move, and if you have CS, you can make it plus 20 on block, up to like plus 22, right? If your opponent tries to mash here, immediately, if they're mashing a 5A, you can frame trap them, especially off of B thrust CS. You can get in there and get a 2A at point blank range, which is your best pressure starter. So this kind of operates as like a neutral skip. I'm in, my pressure is now. And you're like, wow, that sounds great. What a good option to use. But I personally don't like to use this that much because the issue is when you do this immediately, your opponent blocks the Divine Thrust because, you know, blocking it is pretty easy. You can just block your frame traps as a layer 1, and then you immediate CS and immediately dash up, and they know exactly what they're dealing with. They know you're going to dash up and do very basic strike throw pressure. They know it's pretty tight for you to frame trap them and still get good pressure afterwards. They can RPS with you well. What I like to do is this, which is thrust and then delay CS. Because you can delay your CS through like all of the recovery frames of the move. See that? So I can delay it by like 10, maybe 15 frames, something like that. And so they try to take their turn with something like a 2B, which is pretty common there. I can DP them. More than likely I would Sacred Spire them. This is, you can even also do this on whiff, by the way. Why this is good, I think, is because it makes B thrust a legitimately scary thing to block. You don't know whether or not you're getting your turn back. You have to respect the CS for the entirety of its recovery. By the time that I cannot cancel this move, we're back at neutral. So if you represent this a couple times, you're gonna get a few DPs. Everyone tries to mash and take their turn after a block thrust. Especially a B thrust. A thrust, it's a little bit it's kind of a wash. Because not many characters have good challenge options after this. But B thrust, people will always try to take their turn back after B thrust. At least as a layer 1. So you represent that a couple times, and then all of a sudden they stop mashing on this. You can do this into dash throw. You can do this into redash pressure. This into throw bait. Like, all of a sudden, taking your turn back from Orie at any range becomes a mix-up. And I think it's very powerful. I think more Ories should do it, and whenever Ories do it against me, I think it's really obnoxious to deal with. So I think regular just thrust CS is fine. It's good. It's a competent way to spend your CS, but I think thrust delay CS is, like, incredibly annoying for your opponent to deal with, and I recommend a lot of people try it out, and I think you'll be surprised at how effective it is. So for thrust CS, I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. Not the most important way to use it, but I think if you do start using it a lot, you're going to see a lot. You're going to see some nice rewards for your pressure. Also, a lot of the times, your opponents will, like, pick the wrong button to challenge like that. And you can just get a whiff punish, which is extremely rewarding, and you don't even have to, like, extremely rewarding, way better than just like a one-hit DP. You don't have to spend any resources on it either, so that's pretty nice when it does happen. So I'm going to give this one 6, maybe 6.5. It is a strong option that I think a lot of Orie should consider. Oops. Okay, only a few ones left. This one's pretty simple. 6 BCS. Everyone knows and everyone loves 6B. I think it's a pretty nice way to use your CS if you are so inclined. 6B, even if you're doing the correct cancel option, which is 2 and 4B, it's a disadvantageous RPS situation. Really smart opponents will shield this pretty often and then like challenge with an 8 frame, or maybe they'll, and then maybe to like counteract that, you start doing no cancel 6B, and that's -9. It's maybe you do this into FF immediately, but then you're bleeding grid. It's easy to like fall down the rabbit hole of spending too many resources because you tried to get a 6B on block. In this situation, you can just do CS. CS will be +15 on block, so a nice reset to your pressure. You can do whatever you want afterwards. On hit, go into any B and B. This worked. Yes. This one, pretty simple. I'd rate this one like a 4 out of 10 in importance, because you don't need to use 6B at all to be effective as Orie, and I think if you use 6B so much that you need a layer 2 and 3 option to deal with their counterplay, then you're probably using it too much in the first place. So it's not super important, but this is still a very solid way to spend CS. It's gonna work sometimes. 6B is a good move. So 4 out of 10 on that one, maybe 3 out of 10. Another way to use CS is sometimes you're playing strike throw. Strike throw is never going to be an exact science. Sometimes you're going to go for a throw and it's going to get teched. And one kind of nice way to quote-unquote spend CS is going for a throw that you're pretty unsure about. Maybe you think it's telegraphed, and if they tech it, you just CS immediately. Whatever we can. And then you are right back in there. You're playing offense again. This one's pretty nice. Pretty nice way to just kind of advance your game plan for strike throw, because you do like want to make your opponent throw tech a fair amount. This is one way to make your opponent throw tech and then still be able to continue offense even when you're wrong. This one I'm also going to give, let's say, about a 4 out of 10. You don't need to do this, because, like, this situation you can also just block and it's fine. Like, blocking a string in Under Night is not going to kill you. But, it's a pretty nice way to keep up your offense. Alright. The last two options that I'm going to go over are both 2-2A CS. So, this is what we're looking at. You 2-2A and then CS during the startup of it. You can block immediately, and then the CS, then the 2-2A comes out and acts as a delay strike. This, as you might have guessed, is a set play strike throw situation. Oops. After that, you can dash up and throw them. You can dash up and throw them from a surprising distance. You could probably delay it for like 20, 25 frames, something like that. And that's very strong. That means that you can do all the same options as you did with this, but you can represent throw at more timings. You can do like dash up delay throw or dash up delay throw bait, and your opponent is still guessing on all of them. So that is pretty good. You can also get crouching guard. Assault JA works here. And it's also a surprisingly good starter in the corner. Pretty easy 3K there. So Assault JA works. All of your regular strike throw situations work, except for it's better than 2-4 BC because you can do it at more timings. The string that I recommend to go into this is anything into 2C, 2-2 ACS. The reason for that is, gosh. There's a 6-frame gap between this and you doing CS. So if you're right next to your opponent, you'll get mashed on. But you can space 2C if it's all the way out here, and you're fine. You cannot really do that with something like 5B, even though 5B has longer range. You're never going to be able to be safe with that. Even something like 2B, maybe just, whoops, do it immediately. That'll work, so maybe it's around a 7-frame gap with 5B. It's a little bit worse anyways. So I recommend 2C. So that you can kind of keep that mashable gap in check. And then you do that, and immediately you can represent throw or your throw bait option, or like a dash block delay 1AD, which I still really like. Another thing that you can do is, I think I'm going to have the bot do this one to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a delay tech. As the defender, I'm going to do a delay tech to time my throw, like throw tech, when the 2-2A hits. And there we go. So that was a TRM. What that setup means is that I tried to take a throw and I'm locked out of throw teching. So what I have the bot doing here is 2-2A, wait for the orb to hit, then immediately resetting my block stun with 2A and tick throwing me. And if you do it correctly, it'll TRM. Just like that. Pretty powerful setup. It just ensures, once you start working that in, it ensures that no matter what, they're going to be guessing on a throw tech at some point in this pressure. So that's very powerful. Also, what's nice about like a block string into that is that if your opponent shields at any point during the block string, which I can do like this. Maybe not like that. I don't know if I can replicate that, like actual green shield rate. But in real pressure, you're going to catch a lot of green shields on your opponent's pressure by doing something like this. And that's also pretty powerful because it just kind of means that you can represent a powerful option which punishes their shields in a normal block string, and then even if they don't shield, it puts them into a set play strike throw situation. So all of that's very good. I definitely recommend doing this. What the best setup for this, I think, is off of 6-6C. So 6-6C has like 5 hits, something like that, and it usually is known as a move where you're going to your opponent can shield it quite a few times, and it's going to cost a lot of grid. Good opponents will be looking to shield this, right? And if they shield that, that means that you'll be -8 and they can really RPS you effectively. This dynamic makes 6-6C a pretty flawed move to use in pressure. I think there's a lot of situations, like off of this, like this hit or something, I'm +7. If I want a frame trap here, 6-6C is a very good option. But if I do it, they can shield it and drain me of a lot of resources, and that sucks. But the good news is you can do this. And what you're doing for this setup is you are doing 6-6C and then canceling the first hit of it into 2-2 ACS. Obviously, it gives you the same set play strike throw situation. It puts you right next to your opponent, so you can immediately threaten it. Or you threaten to delay 1 AD. And if they green shield your 6-6C at all, you can grid break them. It is difficult to show in training mode, but trust me, this is one of the most powerful offensive sequences Orie has. Like, that is a grid break, like, in a real match. That is a grid break. Yeah, I think... I don't know why it won't do it in training mode, but trust me, start doing this in matches, you will catch green shield, you will start grid breaking people. That's really important because it makes this 2-2 ACS setup accessible from way more situations. I don't have to get right next to you and do a full block string into 2C and then run up for 10 frames to grab you. I can just say, I think you're going to be in this general area. I can frame trap you with 6-6C and then immediately put you in a set play strike throw situation. I can do it off of my JC Oki. I can do it off of my BDP Oki. I can do it off of anything. Also, if like I take a throw, I'm +8. I 6-6C to catch their backdash and then do that. And if I'm right, I get the set play strike throw. I think 6-6C 2-2 ACS is probably the best and most accessible offensive sequence. Like, the straight up most powerful offensive sequence she has is this. That's probably the most powerful offensive sequence. This is the most accessible and powerful offensive sequence. Because it gives you a very strong mix-up on block immediately, and it makes your 6-6C an actual scary offensive move. Usually when people see 6-6C, they say, oh great, I'm about to get 3 grid blocks for free and be able to RPS Orie on her offense. When you start doing this, 6-6C becomes, if I press D at the wrong time, I die. And that's really powerful. I would put 2-2 ACS in general at least an 8.8 out of 10. Maybe 8.5 out of 10. Because you don't need to do this to succeed with the character. She has just regular block string and redash pressure. But the set play strike throw situations and just making your opponent forcing them to guess more often is going to be extremely powerful. So, I'm a huge fan of this sequence. I do it all the time. People I play against hate getting hit with it. I recommend you do it highly. Okay, and that is pretty much every option that I could think of for Orie, so her to spend either meter or CS. I hope this was instructive for you and you have new ideas about how to spend resources and new ideas about like the value of each of these setups and resource spending decisions that Orie has. This might be my last guide for a while, but thanks for watching. I'll catch you later.